Hello and welcome to this edition of NASCAR's Lost Teams, Darrell Waltrip Motorsports. Darrell Waltrip originally started his Hall of Fame NASCAR Cup Series career in 1972 behind the wheel of his self-owned number 95 Mercury. In 5 starts in 72, his best finish was third in the fall at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. Overall, he scored 1 top 5 and 3 top 10s. In 1973, the team increased to 14 starts in the Cup Series. Their best start was third in the fall at Nashville Fairgrounds, and his best finish was second, but this time in the summer at College Station. Overall, they scored 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s. For the third season, in 1974, sponsor Terminal Transport was back on the number 95 Chevy. This season, Darrell Waltrip Motorsports only made 16 Cup Series starts, DNQing for the spring race at Talladega. Waltrip's best start was first in the summer at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, and his best finish was second in the fall at Darlington. Overall, they scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 7 top 5s, and 11 top 10s. Now, by 1975, owners and teams had taken notice of Waltrip's talents, and in the middle of the 1975 season, Darrell would receive his first call to drive for a team on a full-time basis, therefore essentially shutting down the team for the time. In those first 18 starts in 75, the team switched numbers from number 95 to 17, and they had finally broken through and found victory lane at, you guessed it, Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway. They also won the pole for that race as well. Also, they won a pole in North Wilkesboro in the spring. Overall, in the first 18 starts, they scored 2 poles, 1 win, 8 top 5s, and 10 top 10s. Then Darrell started driving for Dyard Racing's number 88 Chevrolets. Now, while he was running full-time in other owners' rides in the Cup Series, but he was going to run the then Busch Series part-time. They definitely did find success, winning 13 races, 35 top 5s, and 41 top 10 finishes, even winning three poles. Using the number 17 and whichever sponsor was basically associated with his Cup Series program at the time. Waltrip also let Terry Labonte make 1 start in 1985 at Charlotte in the fall, and he was able to win, as well as letting his little brother, Michael Waltrip, behind the wheel at Dover in the fall in 1988, and he was able to score the victory as well. Then, after his run driving for Rick Hendrick in their number 17 Tide Chevrolet, after that was finished, when Waltrip resigned from the team at the conclusion of the long, injury-filled 1990 season, with the backing from Hendrick initially, in 1991, the number 17 Western Auto Chevrolet was debuted. Darrell Waltrip Motorsports had reemerged. Waltrip had a very solid first season as a new Cup Series team owner-driver, collecting his first 2 Cup Series victories in over a whole year. His best start was third twice in the fall at Dover and Martinsville. His best finish was first twice in the spring at North Wilkesboro and Pocono. Overall, they scored 0 poles, 2 wins, 5 top 5s, and 17 top 10s, on the way to finishing 8th in final Cup Series points. The following season, in 1992, Darrell and his longtime crew chief, Jeff Hammond, that had been serving since 1982, even followed him from Junior Johnson's to Rick Hendrick, and now even on to Waltrip's self-owned Cup Series operation. Well, he left, and Darrell brought in Suitcase Jake Elder to replace Jeff Hammond. Their best start was first in the spring at Martinsville, and his best finish was first 3 times in the summer at Pocono, Bristol, and Darlington. His victory at Darlington would end up being his final Cup Series victory, and he would end up getting that victory via, a rain-shortened race. Overall, they scored 1 pole, 3 wins, 10 top 5s, and 13 top 10s, finishing the 1992 Cup Series season 9th in final points. For 1993, Waltrip brought in Barry Dodson as crew chief. The results started to fall off this season for the number 17 Western Auto Chevrolet team. Their best start was 4th in the fall at Richmond, and their best finish was 3rd twice in the fall at Dover and Atlanta. Overall, they scored 4 top 5s and 8 top 10s, en route to a 13th place finish in the final points. That next season, in 1994, Waltrip and the number 17 Western Auto team bounced back a little bit. Again, Waltrip's revolving door as far as the crew chief position continued, as he swapped out crew chiefs again mid-season, this time bringing in Clyde Booth, starting at race 16 in Loudon. His best start was 7th in the fall at North Wilkesboro. His best finish was 3rd twice in the spring in Atlanta and in the fall at Dover. Overall, they scored 4 top 5s and 13 top 10 finishes, on their way to finishing his final career top 10 points finish for both team and driver, 9th in final points. Now, the 1995 season really is when things really fell off quickly. Waltrip signed yet another new crew chief, Pete Peterson, for this season. Their best start was 1st in the fall in Atlanta in the season finale, and their best finish was 3rd in the spring at Bristol. Overall, they scored 1 pole, 0 wins, 4 top 5s, and 8 top 10s, on their way to ending the 1995 season 19th in final points. Waltrip's team sponsor rebranded itself to Parts America from Western Auto for 1996. Their best start was 3rd in the spring at Bristol, and their best finish was 9th at Talladega in the summer. Overall, they scored only those 2 top 10 finishes. They ended the season a very disappointed 29th in final points. Waltrip expanded to the newly formed Craftsman Truck Series with the number 17 Sears Diehard Chevrolet. They put Bill Sedgwick behind the wheel. He was able to score 8 top 10 finishes, finishing 14th in final points. Well, in 1997, a few things happened. On the downside, Waltrip found out that his team sponsor, ever since they reopened in 1991, was leaving at the conclusion of the season. On the other hand, his longtime crew chief and good friend was back as crew chief, Jeff Hammond. Also, Darrell Waltrip Motorsports fielded a second car for the Brickyard 400, the number 26 Kentucky Fried Chicken Chevrolet for Rich Bickle. Bickle ran well until running into issues later in the race, relegating him into a 34th place finish. On the downside, Darrell DNQ'd for the first time in 23 years in the fall at Charlotte. His best start was 3rd in the spring in Atlanta, and his best finish was 5th in the spring at Sonoma. Overall, they scored 1 top 5 and 4 top 10s. This would be the final full-time season that Darrell Waltrip Motorsports would ever run in the Cup Series. In the Craftsman Truck Series, Rich Bickle drove that number 17 Sears Diehard Chevrolet to 3 victories and a 2nd place points finish. In 1998, Waltrip thought he had found full-time sponsorship to replace the departing Parts America sponsorship that he had. Speed Block Builders Square was on the car for the first 4 races, but stopped paying almost immediately. So, race 5 at Darlington, Darrell ran a 10 flock special, NASCAR 50th anniversary special paint scheme car. This would be the team's final Cup Series race. In 5 starts in 1998, his best start was 27th in the spring at Las Vegas, and his best finish was 30th in the spring at Darlington. Darrell would go on the next week, as a matter of fact, to become the fill-in driver for the injured Steve Park in a DEI number 1 Chevrolet. He would sell the assets to the team to Tim Beverly. As far as his truck team, the the plan was to have Phil Parsons drive the truck, but Sears pulled out the sponsorship, forcing the Truck Series side of the team to shut down as well. Until his third year into retirement, he came out of said retirement again for a couple races in the Truck Series, and reopened Darrell Waltrip Motorsports to field the number 17 Tide Chevrolet, and a number 17 Aaron Chevrolet Craftsman Truck Series truck for three races, both Martinsville races and a race at IRP. His best start was 12th in the spring at Martinsville, and his best finish was 7th at both Martinsville races. Darrell Waltrip Motorsports went full-time with David Reutimann behind the wheel of the number 17 NTN Bearing Toyota. His best start was first twice in the spring at Atlanta and in the fall at Homestead. Their best finish was third twice in the spring at Texas and Atlanta. Overall, they scored 2 poles, 0 wins, 4 top 5s, and 10 top 10s, ending the 2004 season 14th in final points, and also finishing 2004 with David Reutimann as Craftsman Truck Series Rookie of the Year. In 2005, number 17 NTN Bearing Toyota was driven by David Reutimann, and his best start was first twice in the fall at Bristol and Homestead, and his best finish was first in the summer at Nashville Speedway. The team expanded to a second team in 2005 after purchasing the number 12 truck from Innovative Motorsports. Robert Huffman was the driver for part of the season, then Mike Wallace finished the year. Darrell made his final career Craftsman Truck Series start in 2005 in the fall at Martinsville in the number 12 Toyota. He started 30th and finished 13th. Then for 2006, the number 17 Toyota Tundra truck was driven for one final season by David Reutimann, full-time. Their best start was first twice in the spring at Fontana and Dover. Their best finish was third in the spring at Gateway. Overall, they scored 2 poles, 0 wins, 7 top 5s, and 19 top 10s, finishing his final season in the Truck Series third in final point standings. The team switched to running under the Michael Waltrip Racing banner, and just like that, the final iteration of Darrell Waltrip Motorsports was gone. So, throughout its run in the NASCAR Cup Series, they would amass 4 poles, 6 wins, and the best points finish of 8th in 1991. In Xfinity Series, they would score 3 poles and 13 wins, never running a full season in that series. Then in the Craftsman Truck Series, they would score 6 poles, 4 wins, and the best points finish of 2nd in 1997 with Rich Bickle. Thanks for watching, everyone, and take care.